This is your daily strategic dose by Kevin Moore.
Relationships. Let's talk about relationships. You and I both have relationships in our life. Everything from family dynamics to our spouse, if you have one, or somebody that you're dating, and children, if you have any, or future children, and in-laws, if you have any, and friends, acquaintances, coworkers, business partners, you name it. We have relationships in our life, and if we want to have an extraordinary outcome in our life, which you do, or you wouldn't be listening to this, there are things in your life that you want to improve, right? You want to improve your finances, your business, your success, your impact, your relationships, your health, your fitness. There's something in your life that you want to improve. I know, because you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't want to do those things. So here's the deal. So if you want to improve those areas of your life, then you have to think about the dynamics of relationships. And when I say dynamics of relationships, I very much mean the dynamics of relationships, meaning it is not something that's stagnant. You don't have relationships with anybody that goes perfect according to plan and according to how you think a relationship should be. Call me a liar. Like, I welcome you. I welcome you to hop in the comments and be like, no, man, like all my relationships are perfect. My spouse, my friends, my coworkers, my customers, my clients, my everything, they all just treat me like everything's just perfect. Like it couldn't get any better. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure. Yeah, that's a fallacy. It's dynamic. It's dynamic because it includes two people who have their own psychology, their own experiences, their own education, their own environment, their own beliefs, and their own thoughts, which create their outcomes. And we have talked about that in depth before, and we'll talk about it in depth in the future, I promise you. But those are the different things that reshape our reality, our personal realities. And they're different because the person that you're married to, the person that you have a relationship with, the person that's your friend, the person that's your coworker, the person that's your boss or your employee, has their own experiences, education, and environment that has shaped their beliefs and their thoughts. And it's different than yours. It's not the same. It may be similar. Maybe. A lot of them are not similar at all. You can't even put them in the same category. So what's the purpose of today's message? The purpose of today's message is the fact that the quality of your life has a lot to do with the quality of your relationships. And those relationships are dynamic. So how do you deal with those? Because some people that you love the most are going to disappoint you the most deeply. And I'm like, look, call me out. Like you got free permission in the comments to tell me that I'm absolutely wrong. I know that I'm right. So I really don't care for the crazy person who says that I'm wrong. I really don't care about their opinion. I welcome it. Like they can comment below. But the fact is we all have these relationships. They're all so dynamic and they all impact the quality of our life. So how we deal with them matters because how we deal with our relationships, because it impacts the quality of our life, how we deal with those relationships is what impacts the quality of our life. It's not the relationship, it's how we deal with those relationships. Do you hear me? It's not the relationships that we have in our life that impacts the quality of our life. It's how we deal with the relationships that we have in our life that impacts the quality of our life. So yes, relationships do impact the quality of our life, but it's how we deal with them. It's not what they say. It's not what they do. It's how we deal with them. This reminds me of the great late philosopher, Mr. Jim Rohn, who said a quote that I will forever remember for the rest of my days of having the mental capacity to remember. I will remember what he said. He said, and I quote, he said, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines our destination. It's the set of the sail. He goes on to say, the blowing of the wind blows on us all. The wind of the economy, the wind of change, the wind of the presidential candidates, the wind of real estate valuations, the wind of interest rates on loans, the wind of fill in the blank. The same wind blows on us all, but it's not the blowing of the wind that determines our destination. It is the set of the sail. In other terms, it means it's what we do about what we experience that influences the outcome of what we experience. It's not the experience. Like you and I have, if you live in the United States, you and I both have the same president today. And depending on when you listen to this message, guess what? If I'm still living in the United States and you're still living in the United States, then it doesn't matter when we listen to this message because you and I both have the same president. It does not matter. Does it matter? Yeah, it does matter on a global scale. But what doesn't matter is the fact that you and I are equals. We don't get to choose that. I don't have the power to determine my current or my next president, and neither do you on your own. We don't have that kind of power, right? We can vote, support it. We don't get to choose. We don't get to send our petition to anybody that's important in Washington and say, hey, here's who I want to be the next president, so you just do what I want you to do. We don't have that kind of power, right? So that's the blowing of the wind. We don't get to determine the blowing of the wind, but we do get to determine what we do and how we set our sail on our ship for ourselves and for our families and for our communities and our clients and the customers that we serve. We get to choose how we set our sail, and how we set our sail determines where we end up. It's not the blowing of the wind. The blowing of the wind is a factor. It's not the only factor. A lot of people go through their entire life and they go through that as if it's the actual factor, the thing that blows them around. No, it's how you set your sail with the blowing of the wind that determines where you end up. So how do we apply this to our relationships? Well, I would encourage you to think about your impact from certain relationships that you have. There are certain relationships you have in your life that lift you up. But if you're anything like normal, if you're anything like me and like some of the high achievers and individuals that are making the biggest impact, helping the most people, making the most money, have the most dynamic family lives. And by the way, I'm not saying anybody of any of those categories has everything working for them. I mean, I know people that make a lot of money and have a horrible marriage. I know a lot of people that have a great marriage where their finances are horrible. I know people who have great finances or a great marriage, either one or both, and have a horrible relationship with their children. So I'm not trying to say that there's anybody that you point to that has no problems. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that you need to evaluate the impact that every association has in your life and ask yourself if that is worthy of impacting the quality of your life, because the vast majority of them do not and should not have the permission to impact the quality of your life and how you think about what it is that you do in your work and in your life and in your business and in your family. They don't have the qualification. They don't meet it. But yet we give them so much weight. We give somebody random that we don't even know on social media the ability to give us some sort of influence about how great their life is. And we know nothing about their life. We know nothing. We don't know their middle name. We don't know the color of their carpet. We don't know their children's name, but yet they have this persona on social media that looks so enticing and so perfect and so credible. All they do is make more and more money. All they do is have more and more and more experiences with their wife and their children. All they do is live life in abundance. And here we are looking at them saying, well, why is my life like theirs? Well, I'll tell you why, because their social media presence is a fraud. There's nobody on the planet, nobody, from myself to my former self, a construction worker and a college dropout with no money, to the height of success on our planet like Elon Musk, that has everything in their life perfectly in order, where everything's great. Their marriage is great, their finances are great, their health and their fitness is great, their spiritual connection is great, their communication's great, their everything. Like you fill in the blank. Like everything is absolutely perfect. That does not exist. So if it doesn't exist, but yet the algorithms drive those individuals to being the ones that are in front of us, we have to be mega conscious of how we evaluate those relationships. There are people in your life that you need to excommunicado. And you're like, well, what does that mean? That means excommunicate, cut them out, be gone. Bye, Felicia, out of here. They need to be gone. You don't need to communicate with them anymore. You need to disassociate with them on social media. You need to stop communication with them. You need to block them potentially. If they're that aggressive, they're that negative, they're that volatile, they're that toxic. Like there's some people, not a lot, but there's some people you literally need to just you don't need to hear the next thing that they say, whether it's about you or not. It doesn't matter. Like it's so toxic. You need to literally excommunicado. You need to excommunicate with that individual. You need to cut them out. That's not a big portion of your environment, but some of the individuals you need to tone down. If you think about it, like the volume on the radio or your Bluetooth or your Alexa speaker or whatever you listen to, turn the volume down, right? So at home, I'm not a big fan of anything that's listening to me all the time, but at home we do have one Alexa speaker and we can tell her, hey, Alexa, do this. Hey, Alexa, do that. And a lot of times we're telling her to turn the volume up or volume down, right? Hey, Alexa, turn the volume down. She turns it down. And then sometimes it's not enough. So you need to say, hey, Alexa, turn the volume down. And she does it again. And sometimes it's still not enough. Sometimes you got to tell her again, hey, Alexa, turn the volume down. And some of our relationships, we need to do the same thing. We need to say, hey, turn down. And we can't tell them directly. Of course, you can try. You can tell somebody to tone it down. It's not going to work. But what you can do is you can censor their input into your mind. You have the ability to control the amount of input that they have. Like you literally, I don't know if you realize this or not, but you can follow somebody on Facebook and actually still be friends with them, but unfollow them, meaning you don't see their posts anymore. I don't know if you realize that or not, but yes, there's a way to actually kind of do your own self-censorship. Like I am a huge, I'm militantly against censorship as a whole, but I am 100% for censorship for the individual. Prime example is my Twitter feed, AKA X, right? Twitter got rebranded as X. And on X, I could choose who I follow and who I watch and who I have an experience with, who I actually see what their thoughts are and what they say, and what they post. I actually can control that feed 100%. Like I can control it. And I love it because I only follow, I don't follow friends on X. I follow friends on Facebook, but I don't follow friends on X. On X, I follow people I want to hear about their thoughts. I follow journalists that I respect. I follow individuals in the crypto and decentralized finance arena that are either really, really, really smart and successful long-term traders, investors, individuals who are heads of startups, CEOs and founders of mega projects, individuals that are that I respect in the ministry world, individuals I respect in the finance and insurance and financial planning and investment advising world, individuals I follow in the personal development and professional development world. These are the individuals that I want to hear from, right? So I'm able to actually censor my Twitter feed, my X feed, down to the people that I want to hear from. How many of us actually adopt that same philosophy in our life with our relationships? Where we say, hey, I'm going to censor the amount of people who have an input and an influence on my life. I'm going to take those who I don't want to hear from and eliminate them. I'm going to take those who are toxic but I love, and I'm going to limit them. I'm going to take those that are kind of just the same as me, and I'll be around them and tolerate them and listen. But I'm really going to emphasize on the people who are ahead of me in the areas of life that I want to change. And I'm going to highlight and emphasize those individuals and make sure that I follow and have notifications on the individuals who are before me, who are smarter than me, who are ahead of me, who have done more than me, who've been more consistent than me, going further than me, for longer than me in a period of time. We have the ability to do that with our relationships. So the last thing I'll leave with you with is the fact that you should evaluate that. You should evaluate the people in your life. You should evaluate the relationships that you have. You should evaluate what it is that it's doing to your life, how it's impacting you. You should censor what needs to be censored. You should tolerate what needs to be tolerated. And you should emphasize and turn up what needs to be emphasized and turned up. If you do that with relationships, Just wait until you see what happens to your life. It's going to change. And I promise you this, 100% guaranteed it's going to change for the better. You're going to love what this does for your life. Never let somebody else's personality, education, experience, beliefs, environment, etc., influence the quality of your life because they portray that on you. It has no place in your life. You need to cast that off. Cast it off. Doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter where you were last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That was old you. That's not today you. That's not today you. I'm not saying you don't have any repercussions from what you did 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago. But what I am saying is that if you're growing, which our community is growing, I'm sure you are too, that's not who you were anymore. You're different. Embrace that. Evaluate the quality of your relationships, censor as you need to censor, tolerate what you need to tolerate, and exemplify and exaggerate and grow what you need to grow. And I promise you, your life will flourish accordingly, just like a plant who chooses better nutrition. It's going to grow. Things are going to happen. You're going to bear fruit. You're going to grow. And I can't wait to see it. Love you. We'll talk to you soon in the next one.
This is your Daily Strategic Dose by Kevin Moore.